Good morning. With my years in theater, it isn't only about me being an actor, but what made me happy was interviewing other actors, actresses, and directors because they were so far better than I, and to learn from them and see the beauty of drama and comedy and musicals. In this, actress Sinda, Nichols, will definitely show you right now at the Studio Theater at the Depot in the year of 2013.
Clear to me was, I believe it was your mother back in 1976. Your mother and father had just returned from seeing this production.
Yes.
And what did your mother tell you?
Well, I was in high school, and I think they saw a production in Detroit, because I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, and they frequently went downtown to the Fisher Theater. I was a very fortunate child growing up in that my parents took me to a lot of theater, both professional and community in high school. I even came to the Cherry County Playhouse when I was growing up. But anyway, one night they came back from going to the theater, and they had seen the Belle of Amherst, and my mother said to me, she said, this role is, she said, you're just like her. You have to do this someday.
And
yeah,
very unusual in parents. How, looking at her picture, I looked at it intently and trying to envision how she spoke and what her physical mannerisms were like. And I also looked at some prior performances of other actresses that have played her, and most of them were very spunky and very energetic. And the thought crossed my mind, as I haven't seen your performance, which I'm really anxiously wanting to see tomorrow night, but I was thinking and watching some of these other actresses, I was going, I wonder if Emily was completely the complete opposite of that. Because, she was agoraphobic, possible epileptic. She just looked very frail in a lot of ways. But I don't know how, if you played something like that, whether it would really register on stage as well.
Yeah.
Did you think about things like that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I was very fortunate to work with a director who is a master at what he does, and we both have real similar philosophies about acting, which everything needs to be rooted in a verb. And if you're not doing something, then you're not interesting.
Right.
But what really helped me get connected to a physicality for Emily was just reading about her life as a young child and an adult. She was very energetic, and she spent a lot of time hiking in the woods. She spent a lot of time baking and preparing meals. And, she studied the piano.
These are in her earlier years.
Right. She went to parties a lot. She really loved her group of girlfriends. So I think there was a physicality of her that was probably very vivacious. And perhaps over time maybe slowed down. But there's a wonderful line in the play which really, as an actor, you just can't ask for anything more juicy than this. She says, my little force explodes.
My little force explodes. What age was she at that time?
I don't know. It's from a letter, one of her letters. But in the play, it's given to a period when she was 40. Yeah, she's having a conversation with Higginson.
Higginson's, right.
Yeah.
Was it Higginson's?
Yeah, Higginson, Thomas Wentworth Higginson.
Right, and he was a writer himself, I believe, right? And
he was an amazing person. Yeah, there's a great biography written about him. He was a champion of women's issues and African American.
He was pretty much her mentor, wasn't he? Was he?
Yeah, of sorts.
In some way.
Yeah, she had a correspondence with him for many, many years, and she called him her preceptor. He thought her writing was not publishable, that people wouldn't understand it. He thought it was too spasmodic.
Yeah, he didn't really encourage her to publish, did he?
Mm-mm.
No. Isn't that?
No, but there was somebody who did encourage her, Helen Hunt. Helen, actually I just got the name wrong, it's Helen Hunt Jackson, or Helen Jackson, who was a very well-known writer at the time.
Mhm.
And she very much tried to get Emily published, especially about in the last 10 years of her life. She and Emily had a little bit of a campaign they were on, and they met with rejection. The poems were just not seen as, published.
So at the beginning of this play,
Mhm.
to the end of the play,
Mhm.
how old is she at the very beginning, and how old are you? Are you at the very end of her life at the end of the play?
Yeah, the play ends,
1886, wasn't it?
yeah. And it actually starts out in 1883, but it wanders back and forth in time.
Mhm.
So throughout the play, she relives periods in her life from the age of 15
Mhm.
up until her death at 1886.
Now, your first performance was in 2010,
10, right?
and we're at 2013. How many
Yes.
more years do you think that you're going to be playing Emily? How many years would you like to play Emily?
I would like to do it for the next 10 years, off and on,
Mhm.
intermixed with other projects, which there is another one coming up. So that it's something I can take out from time to time, when the right group of ingredients come together.
Okay, there's every performance is different, as you well know.
Yeah.
Is there any performance in the past 3 years that you can talk about that there was something incredibly special that happened to you during that one performance? Something to do with playing the character of Emily?
Yeah, that's such a wonderful question. There have been audiences that I felt like I wanted to just stop the show and go up to every single one of them and hug them. So this kind of answers your question, but in
Yeah.
a little bit different way, because I so felt like they were getting her. And a lot of it is the little non-verbals. The play is very funny. Emily Dickinson, I'm convinced, is a comic. And when you read her letters for the second time, the first time I read them, I didn't quite get them. The second time I read them, I was laughing out loud. But there have been audiences that so got her, and I could tell by the little verbals that, ha ha, and the laughs, that it was such a rich experience. But I do have to tell you, some of the most incredible experiences have been after the show, talking to the audience members. And when
Do you hold a forum after every performance?
Not everyone, but some.
Mhm.
But I usually try and go out and say hello to people, especially if I have people in the audience I know. And at one performance, there was a gentleman who said he wasn't leaving until he got his picture taken with Emily. And I said, okay, I'll be right out there, and because I was changing. And I got out there, and this enormous tattooed man comes walking towards me and gives me this huge bear hug. And he says, Emily Dickinson, is one of my favorite poets, and I'm a poet. And it just, people have this image of Emily Dickinson fans as being little old librarians, and he just blew it right out of the water.
Yeah.
It was great.
Fantastic.
And he brought his 3 kids with him.
So this will be your first time in Traverse City performing?
Yes, my first time in Michigan performing since I was a theater major at Michigan State. I left here in '79.
You were about to say.
Wait, no, Ann Arbor. My last performance was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yeah, I was part of a theater group called the Radical Arts Troupe.
Ooh.
That was like 1981.
All right.
Yeah.
Sinda, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have one last question for all the future Emily actresses that are going to play her. Do Do you have any suggestion for them?
Oh, what a wonderful question. Have fun. I think for me, you know, when I got over the fear of being on stage by myself for 2 hours and the lines, and really started to realize that this show was about connecting with the audience. And when I really understood what I needed the audience to get before they left. And it's taken me a while. I mean, I've done a lot of, oh, I think I got it. And then it's like, no, that's not quite it. And then, oh, now I've got it. That's not quite it. You know, it's, as you know, all actors, we're always kind of chipping away at the role, trying to find out, well, what am I really here for? What am I really trying to do?
I used to tell actors when I direct a show, I'd say that memorizing the lines, that's important.
Yeah.
But the emotional memory
Yeah.
is more important than any of it.
Yeah.
You tap into that, and I think that's exactly what you said.
I know what I would say to them because this has really helped me lately. And I've been reading a book lately on the different acting methods, and one of them was this Belle of Amherst one, and they talked about how important imagination is. And I knew imagination was important. Everybody knows that. And from time to time I teach acting classes, and we always do imagination, blah, 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 blah. But for some reason I thought, okay, how much of my imagination am I really using? So, in the last go-around of shows, I have really been focusing on imagination. Seeing Father when he's on stage. If I'm saying something, I am reliving it in my mind. I can, I'm really trying to paint it more clearly for myself. And it's having a really interesting impact on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's helping me keep things fresher, and it's helping me be more engaged.
Right.
So actually, I think I would say engage your imagination as much as you can with this piece and with the poems, even though it's a very different world from what you live in now. Find a way to make it clear.
Well, I think that's excellent sound advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Sinda, tomorrow night at what time?
7:30.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll be there.
All right.
I give them something to talk about. I dress in white, mostly white. Oh, all year long, even in winter. Bridal white, Penny calls it. Dear, dear, dresses in bridal white she does every day of the blessed year. People find it very hard to believe that I had normal childhood. They visualize instead a miniature version of me as I am now. A pint-sized little Emily, dressed all in white, lisping riddles and aphorisms and baby talk. And of course, hiding from the family. I had to be sure he saw me. It was almost a superstition. I thought that if he didn't see me, as the stagecoach went behind the hill, that we'd never meet again. It could be raining or snowing, but there I stood, waiting for his last look through that little window in the coach. Father always got his way, and Austin stayed. I think probably Sue influenced him too. Oh, Susan Gilbert. She was engaged to marry Austin at the time Father made his generous and unselfish offer. From this room, we can look over to Sue's house. We call it the Evergreens. And this, of course, is the homestead. You agree. When the family went to church, I was never alone. God was sitting right there, looking into my very soul. Buffy, get out of the sewing bucket! Oh. Vinny's one big passion in life is cats. And unfortunately, mine is birds. And now she has a new cat, Drummy Doodles. Oh, Professor Higgins. How's Mrs. Higgins? Good noon, Professor Higginson. How is Mrs. Higginson? Oh. Enchanté. Colonel Higginson. How sweet, Mrs. Higginson. He's here. Oh, he's taller than I thought. Oh, it's so imposing. Maggie, the door. Courage, Emily. Sue's my sister-in-law, and that's her house over there. It's not what I would have chosen, but perhaps for publication it's more appropriate, more appealing to the reading public. But you'll be the best judge of that. Now, I have many more you might feel would be better in a printed collection, many, well over 1,000 that you've never even read. Enough for several volumes, I should think, and I would prefer Morocco bound. Oh dear me. I must apologize. I'm not giving you a chance to say anything, but could you tell me how to grow? And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. He kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. Eternity? I'm coming. Sir? Master? I've seen that face